Hey guys, welcome back once again to another interesting discussion about chatbot design principles and data security. So in this episode, I'll walk you through with certain design approach that I have just recently came across a very interesting blog post in SAP community. And in this episode, I'll try to create a proof of concepts of one of the design principle, which will give us a better kind of a zero exposure to our data on-premise data to cloud. And so let's quickly check out what are the different agendas that I'm planning to share with. So here first we'll understand, as I said, the different design concepts. Then we'll create a simple bot for our demonstration, and also we'll understand the new authentication process as recently introduced by SAP. Next, we'll just build our bot logic, which is I'll use actually Node.js to build this application. And finally, obviously, the testing end-to-end scenario by consuming the NLP engine, which is a standard offerings of SAP CAI. So let's quickly head over now to the discussion about the different design concepts. Hi, this is the blog post I was referring to, which is written by Sai. It's very well articulated and it talks about the different architecture and implementation styles. So I'll just keep this resource in the description box for your reference. I'll not read out entire blog, it's a big one, but I'll just walk you through a various concepts that he tried to explain, and it's very well articulated. Again, I'm just talking, so let's zoom out a little. Yeah, so this is a standard implementation process. So where my backend on-premise service is actually exposed as through a cloud connector, and my CAI, which contains this NLP engine, dialog runtime, and the bot connector. So it has the capabilities to parse the user expressions, because user will put the message through this web chat, and the bot connector will get the details and pass it on back to NLP and dialog runtime to process that expression. The NLP engine will do something called identify the different entities, and obviously the intents, certain sentiment analysis, everything those will be done over here, and that information will be passed to a bot logic. So what is a bot logic? It basically built either by Java, Python, Node.js, and any other programming languages. But you see that bot logic basically been deployed to cloud platform. So this with this bot logic, if that logic thinks like I need to get some data from the backend, it makes a call to the destination service and get the required details which user is looking at. So this is a standard implementation process, and in my channel I have already presented this thing already before. So in Alexa and Google Home, you can see those kind of integrations. Let's scroll down a little. Now here the another approach talks about is the least public cloud exposure and maximum data privacy. So what happens, you see both the bot connector and the bot logic now resides in my on-premise. I haven't exposed it to, but developer has to write code to connect the NLP engine which resides in the cloud. So here interesting fact is like the on-premise OAuth service, bot logic and everything is in completely in my private network, and I have not exposed anything to the outside world, but I'll be leveraging the NLP capabilities using this bot connector. So interestingly, this particular concept or scenario I'll try to demonstrate by creating a inter application, inter logic, bot logic, and bot connector. Everything I'll do in this episode itself. So stay tuned. Okay. And last one he talks about is the hybrid concept. So in the hybrid concept, what he does is he kept the bot connector over here. It's basically kind of a user defined bot connector only, but it's been deployed to cloud, and it can access the bot logic using a cloud connector, because that's kind of a service that it will able to access through a cloud connector. Eventually the rest of the process same. So because this bot connector then access the NLP and to pass on the user expressions, and NLP will give back all the required details to the bot logic. So it's kind of a hybrid scenario, but in our particular demonstration I'll focus, as I said, this one where the least exposure to cloud that will try to achieve. So let's head over to now the bot buildup for our demonstration. So I have built a very simple bot for our demonstration. I am not just creating from scratch for you, but I'll just walk you through. It's very simple one. You can create a bit easily, or you can fork it also if you are interested. So now this is something called a product info checker, and I have created one custom intent, and this is called product info check. So if you get into that, I just have a few expressions, very simple expressions, the products that I'm looking at, and one of the expression doesn't have a product name, as you can see. I will see like how bot can handle that out. Now let's get into the entities part now. So this is the intent part is over. In the entities section, I have added a new custom entity, product name, and I have loaded all the product information which I received from this Northwind service under the products endpoint, and from there I just pulled all the product information, or product name rather. Right, in our POC, though this particular service we are assuming is not available in the cloud, but for our demonstrations I just use that because it's available in reality. So that's why I just grabbed all the product information. Let's get into the build part now. Created a custom skill called product info check, and here in the trigger section I told like if my intent is identified, which is a product info check, if it is present, then only the skill will be triggered. But before it goes for an action, it has to validate a requirement, and the requirement is that product name should be available. And if we just expand a little, I have put one message if the product name is missing, and I'm telling like, can you please provide the product name please. So this is something of expression, or response that bot will provide back to the user if it is if it doesn't find the product name inside the user expression. All right, so now let's get into the action section. So here I'm just simply adding up a kind of a JSON fashion where the memory, product name, and value will be come out as the details, which I'll be using it within my bot logic, because bot logic, as I said, it will be in my private network now. So from this bot logic, I'll be able to filter the product information which user is looking at by getting this particular response from the bot. Let's quickly test it. Like if I just say get the details, then it will parse the message, and it doesn't find any product information, so it's asked for the product name. If I tell chai, for example, then it gives me back this kind of information, which I'll use in my bot logic. Now come to the main part of this episode, which is the bot logic and bot connectors we'll create now using Node.js. So I'll start it by creating a new folder called product info, and let's open this one in VS Code. Fine. So let's open the terminal now, and let me write npm init --y. So it will create the package.json. Yes, it's there, and the entry point is basically index.js. So create a file also with the same name. Great. So now what I have to do, I'll install certain dependencies. I'll be using npm install express Config I'll use for storing certain global variables. I'll use node page. XRS, and both are same, but I'll just, for the demo, I'll use both. And then I'll use something called node persist. That's all I believe will be sufficient. It will take some time. Okay, looks like all been installed successfully. Now in this index.js, what I'll do, I'll create a simple express first, constant express require, and I'll just add express there. I will create one application, and okay, as a function, let's open an endpoint first. So app dot okay, let me use the JSON first also. JSON, so it's basically added in the record sections automatically. That's good. Now let's do app dot get, and let's use the endpoint, the root only. Use a callback, and let's send a simple response. App is running. Okay, first class. So this is the first thing, and then what we'll do, we have to enable a port for that. So I'll declare a variable port. I'll take it from process.environment.port if it is available. Otherwise, let's run it on port 5000. So now app.listen, and I'll say port, and in the callback I'll say listening on port. Then use a template literal, and you just put port. Okay, and that's it. Okay, there is one extra colon added. Right, so now save this file. So I think the initial express server I have added, and to run this one, I think everything fine looks like. So if I can run with node index.js, but for that I'll just use a couple of script. Of one of the script I'll use first as a start, and here I'll just use nodemon, because nodemon I didn't install though, because I have already installed in my machine globally. So I'll use nodemon, then index. Okay, fine. So if you don't have nodemon installed, you can just install like this, symbol npm install nodemon. So that way nodemon will be installed globally to your machine. So now I'll just run simple npm start. So it will fire the this particular index file, and it started running on port of 5000. So let's open it now. Okay, so let's now put localhost 5000. App is running. Awesome. So now our express server is working. Let's now integrate the API, Northwind API calls in our bot logic. So for that, create a module, and on file I'll create called product page.js. So here I'll first declare something called XRS. I'll use XRS for my API calls here, and sorry, I'll use also config here. Okay, now to use the config, I need to create a folder called config, and under which I'll create some file called default.json. Okay, let's I just pasted from the clipboard. This is the API URL I'll use, and go to product.js and now write something called constant create product info as a function, and I want to make it async function. Then declare constant URL is equal to config.get, and from this default I'll use this particular parameter Northwind API. Okay, and now let's do something called constant results, or something called response. Okay, program says JSON. Okay, and now if everything is fine, then this will return me the I'll return basically this response dot data. This way the API will return the information of the products. And finally I need to export it. I need to export product info. Okay, that's all. So now let's access this one over here in our Node.js. So constant product info is equal to require, and this is in our modules, and it is product page. Fine. So let's create a new endpoint now, app.get, and endpoint, let's call it products request and response. Now I want to get output from this product info, so I need to put await, because my product info is basically returning a promise, because if you go there it's a async function, so I have to use await before, but it will not work unless this function is also async. That's all. If everything fine, then I can go for response.send and output. That's it. Okay, so my things are all set. I think some issues are there. So now this application is back to start, and my API endpoint is available now. So let's check out this one. So this is still running, and if I go for an endpoint/products, if everything fine, then it is supposed to return back my response, which is coming up. Fantastic. So our integration with the bot logic and the Northwind API is complete, and we'll have to do a refactoring later on, but let's, for the time being, that integration is successful. As per the recent notification, SAP says any bot's been built after February, it has to be authenticated through OAuth tokens. Okay, that's a difference. Now what happens is, if you go to settings sections of your bot, you will find a change, and it talks about something in the bot options. This is what the API or bot connector that we'll use in our application. By the way, go to token section, and here you will see something about runtime API. I haven't yet generated. While I have generated the design time API for this bot, and you will see the three information: URL, client, auth URL, client ID, and client secret. So now we have the developer token as well. So earlier we actually used to have this developer token only, and that was supposed to be used for connecting the bot using our custom bot connectors. But now things get changed and we have to use this information. So let's see how we can use this to connect the bot from our Node.js application. So for that, what we'll do, we'll create a module first. So let's go here and let's go to module, create a new file. I'm calling it SAP CI token, okay? Because this module will bring the token information, token details. Now to start with, I will grab first three important things. One is the node fetch to make an API call. Node persist I'll use to store the access token, because access token will have a validity. There is no point to keep calling and generating access token, so we would like to store it in our local store. But ideally in production application, you should store this one in a database or some secured way, but it's a demo, so it's okay. So let's now create a function, async function, like I know SAP CI token, and this function, what we'll do, we'll basically call this. So we'll grab it from the config file, but important is, like, we have to put those files values. So I have already kept it in my clipboard. I just want to give it to the default.json. So all the URLs, client ID and client secret, these are all related to the bot that we have just seen, or we have just built out rather. So let's change client secret with this one. I think this is fine. Okay, so next would be put this all values into a param structure so that we can pass it while requesting the API. And this is the value that need to be changed. All right, what next? Obviously now we have to make a call. That's good. We are making a node fetch call, but important is this content type. Please make a note of it. You have to pass this on only, otherwise it will not work. Fine. So next will be the output which will receive from this Node.js is basically a promise. Okay, so you have to use an await over here. Once we get the token, we need to store it, as I said, in a local storage. So I'm using local storage, and I'll create a kind of a parameter auth token, and under which I'll store this information. And this I'll be using it later, this time now, for a validation of the token expiry. Great. So now obviously the last part would be return from this function with that access token. And most important, we have to make this module exported, otherwise it will not be, it'll say I don't find it, something like this, right? So that is something we have done with the SCP token. But now the thing is, as I said, just getting a token is not enough. We have stored in a local storage, so let's create another module which will validate this token expiry. I'm calling it getToken.js. Now in this particular module, let's grab this token and node persist, because we'll be using SAP CI token as well, the local storage. And let's start with this function creation first. And what we'll do first, we'll initialize our local storage. That's the first thing. Then we'll grab this auth token which we have just stored there. Let's declare a few local variables to get that information locally. Then do a validation. Let's say I'm going to check like whether this auth token is available or not. Okay, so if it's available, then we don't need to call. Otherwise we have to call this SAP CI token, this particular module, to get the access token. And if otherwise, we'll just good to go to grab it from the local storage, as you can see. But having a local storage is not enough, because we need to validate one thing, and that is the state.now, and this minus the time now, this thing divided by 1000, right? That should be greater than expiry. If this is the case, then there is a point to make a call on this CI token. Otherwise, no need. All set. So what next now? We have to just return back from here with the access token that we'll use from our main API or main Node.js, or I would say rather index.js file. And of course we have to just get it exported. That's all. Okay, from this get token function. So now the next one is go to index.js file, and let's get that two modules first imported. So one is a get token. So let's grab the get token now. And what I'm planning is like this particular Node.js, we have to basically create a dummy UI where user has to give the message, because we are not accessing the web chat. So some sort of a custom form, I'm just doing it for my demo purpose. So let's some problem waiting for module not found. That's okay. So we have to change it to module, and then it should be fine, I guess. Yes. So by doing this, if you just go to local thing and refresh it, you will see this kind of UI change. That's good. And now what we have to do, we need basically one different endpoint called SAP-CAI. So let's do app.post and create a new endpoint called SAP-CAI, and we'll make a request and a response. So here what we'll do first, we'll first get the body, the request body to grab the query, because this is the query where my message will be stored in the UI. So get this query, but it will not work unless until one small boilerplate code I write, and that is something like this. Don't miss this out. This extended false. So this boilerplate code will be required, otherwise this will be it will not be available. The value will be empty. Perfect. So what next? Let's now call this function await get token, because I now would like to get token method to call to get the access token, but it's await means I have to make it async function, otherwise it will not work. That's good. Now what next is I need this access token to be passed to my bot connector. So I need to create the final module now. I'm calling it bot nlp.js. And what we'll do, we'll just use this access token over here. So first grab these two things. We'll need node fetch and config. Then we'll basically create a function called this one, and this function will have two parameters. One is access token, because this is what I need, and the other one will be the message that bot is supposed to pass it to the SAP-CAI. So next would be here we need to grab two things to call. The first one is the bot API, which will already captured in default.json, bot API and bot dev token, these two things. So this will be called over here. We'll receive it from the config file. Next would be create a payload with this information, the message that I have received, and create a conversation ID, anything. I'm just putting 1 2 3 4 5, something like this. And but this dialog payload is not sufficient. We have to make it kind of JSON stringify. You have to use it. Once it is done, we have to create the set headers for our API calls. So here we'll be using this access token that we have received as a function parameter prefixed by bearer, and the other is the token followed by this dev token. Here the same content type as normally we'll use, because we are passing a JSON value, because this is the JSON things that we are passing as a payload to our bot. Fine. So what the next thing? The bot now to be connected. So this is the thing which will make a call to this bot connector, and bot connector we have received somehow over here. You see bot API. Okay, so this I'll make a call to, passing the post as a function, headers and payload. That's it. Now the bot is supposed to respond back successfully if everything fine. So we need to parse this one. We are using node fetch. That means we need to use this await again to get the JSON value, and finally I'm just sending it back. Now everything fine. Only pending thing is we need to export this bot NLP. Okay, so all right, so let's get into index. .js now. So back to index.js. So that means we are all set. We are able to call this NLP, but before that, we need to actually get that NLP module, right? Otherwise, it will give an error. So let's get that module. Yep. And we can now, access this particular module. You can call this function bot NLP over here from this post call, right? Passing all this access token in the message. Simple. Once I receive the information from the bot, I'll basically interested to collect a few information. One thing is the intents, and second thing is the entities, and any message that bot is sending it back. Good. Now I'll write a simple logic to create a filter parameter, because if I get the entities, means the product information, product name rather, then that I need to pass it to my Northwind product service, right, as a filter parameter, a query parameter, so that I can get that related information. So this is the logic for that. So simple. I'm a little bit scroll down. So I'm just seeing if the entity is product name, then I'm just doing a map function and just collecting all the product name and creating a query parameter, something like product name equal to then that product information. If I don't find anything as a entity, then simply whatever the response I'm getting it from the bot, I'll just send it whatever I receive. Okay. So once done, now this query parameter, whatever we have built, we have to just pass it as a kind of a parameter. Where we should pass definitely this particular function called product info, because this is what we have already used in our product endpoint. Just for our testing purpose we used it, so that function will be calling now here, passing this one. What next? When that information will receive back from the product info, that result we need to pass it back. As simple as that. Okay, all set. Now thing is, this URL parameter we need to give it back to our product function. So here is the URL parameter, and I have just used this filter because this is what I'll be using as a query parameter. That's it. So let's save all. Should be fine now, right? I think all set. Hopefully it will not create any trouble. I think I have given all the things. So let's run. If any error happens, we have to fix. That's okay. So let's first clear everything and run as a fresh npm start. And yeah, 5000. That's good. Let's go back and refresh. Good. So let's first put hi, some greetings to my bot. And if everything is fine, yeah, I'm supposed to see this message. Awesome. So now what important thing would be, so if you just go here now, you see that node parse has been created, means my authentication, whatever I created, received from, I am basically storing it over here along with the expiry and time now. So next time if I make a call to my bot, let's say get the details. So now I'm receiving a message, can you please provide the product name? So this time I'm not regenerating the token, it is the same thing, because you see the time value didn't change, the same thing, it's persist. Okay, cool. So next one is let's say chai is the product name I'm interested to. So it will just create a parameter, query parameter, and it make a call to my product service, and I'm getting this product information. So if user sends multiple, let's say chai and tofu please, what will happen? Let's see. Voila, you see now both chai and tofu, these two product informations I'm getting from the bot. I hope this is all about the discussion. It was helpful to you, because nothing been exposed to the cloud, everything running on the local host. So that means this bot connector and bot logic can be deployed to private network. It's nothing required to be deployed to cloud. So that's where the kind of a high level of data security that can be achieved. Yeah, that's all for this video. So thanks for watching and share your feedback. and subscribe my channel if you have not done yet, and don't forget to set the bell icon because it will intimate you the moment I upload a new video to my channel. Thanks. We'll connect again soon with a different topic. Goodbye.